세션 1을 바로 시작을 해보도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째 세션은 남성욱 고려대학교 통일융합연구원 원장님의 사회로 진행되겠습니다. 남성욱 원장님은 현재 서울특별시 남북교류협력위원회 위원장이시며 또 통일부 통일미래기획위원회 특별위원회 위원장으로 계십니다. 네, 그럼 원장님과 발제자분들을 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
자, 안녕하십니까. 휴식 시간이 너무너무 짧죠. 네, 살아보니까 인생이 그런 것 같아요. 휴식 시간은 아무리 길게 가져도 짧은 것 같습니다. 우리 반기문 유엔 사무총장님을 제가 재단에서 모시고 있는데 오늘 굉장히 업이 되셔가지고 아주 롱 스피치를 하셨습니다. 저도 깜짝 놀랐습니다. 그러다 보니까 우리 앰배서더 스케줄이 굉장히 지금 아주 복잡해지고 있어서 제가 좀 You have to hurry up the first session. Sorry about the ambassadors. 첫 번째 덴마크의 사례를 저희가 듣도록 하겠습니다. 덴마크의 기후중립과 해상풍력이라는 주제로 우리 앰배서더 스펜 올링 대사님을 모시도록 하겠습니다. 스펜 올링 대사님은 주 이집트, 투르키의 대사를 영입하셨고요. 덴마크 외교부의 수출진흥국장님도 또 영입했습니다. 이 덴마크는 세계 최초로 디파트먼트 오브 인바이러먼트, 환경부를 최초로 만든 나라고요. 2022년 환경성과 지수에서 전 세계 1위를 기록한 선진국이기도 합니다. Please. 여러분 큰 박수로 맞아주시면 감사드리겠습니다.
Chairman Young, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk a little bit about how did we do this in Denmark? How did we go all the way to the 2050 goal of net zero and beyond? Now, we are pressed for time, as the moderator has told us, so forgive me for speaking fast. Fasten your seatbelts. I'll go fast through my presentation. And please, I'm saying to the interpreters, please forgive me because I will be speaking very fast. So these are the three things I want to tell you about. Number one, what are the goals for climate neutrality in Denmark? How did we get there? Number two, what is the status of offshore wind in Denmark, our major contributor to green energy? And number three, what are we doing with our great friends in South Korea? This one is a little bit about the story. We did not come to very ambitious, not just leading edge, but bleeding edge climate policies in Denmark from a green agenda. No, we came in the 1970s from a scare of energy crisis. We were dependent on Middle East oil, and we found out during the oil crisis that's a bad idea. We needed multiple inputs to our energy strategy, including renewable. That's why we started early. But it turned out to be a good idea. If you look at this chart, it is a very important argument for anybody, like the Secretary General just did, who wants to argue why energy transition and fast energy transition is vital. It is not true when they tell you that it is expensive. We believe in Denmark, and there's broad consensus on this, that the winners of the 21st century economic race will be those that are able to energy transition fast and use energy efficiently. This chart shows you that there is no negative correlation between economic growth and transition of energy. This shows you how we have reduced our carbon emissions and our energy consumption since the base year of 1990 while growing the economy with 75%. So the argument that we cannot afford energy transition is wrong. We have been going a lot faster with this, but our ambition is very high. We have set a goal of 70% for our reduction with a basis of 1990 in the year 2030. That is very ambitious on the international scale. But more than that, and this is important, I think, in a Korean context also, the goal of a 70%, reduction by 2030 of greenhouse gas emissions and climate neutrality in 2050 is not a political goal, it is the law. The parliament has adopted a law that we must achieve this. The good news is that we are underway. But what this really reflects is that there is very broad political backing for the Danish voters. So beware for this, those of you who are politicians. The number one issue, or sometimes number two issue on the political agenda is climate change. They're asking each and every politician, what are you doing to progress on climate change? But what you see below here, below the line, is the political goal. So this is what the current government is saying, but we want to go further. We want to achieve at least 100% green electricity by 2030, climate neutrality already by 2045, and 110% of greenhouse gas reductions by 2050, so that we are actually having a positive influence on the climate at that day. Broad political consensus around this. Today, also there are those who say, no, but for the security of energy supply, we cannot rely on renewables. It's too dangerous, too untested. It is falsified. We have in Denmark one of the world's highest security of supply of power, 99.996% of uptime, and are heavily dependent on renewables, mostly wind. But we are still a small country, so if you put together everything we do, it is not enormous. It's 4.7 gigawatts of offshore wind we have installed. As an export business, it's important. We're exporting about 15.4 billion euros a year. In our export industry, the turnover is 15.4 billion euros. Now, how are we working in South Korea? The most important lesson for us is it's great what we do in Denmark, but our emissions are 0.1% of the global emissions. So yes, we might lead by example and so forth, but that's not going to change the thing. We got to work with other countries in the world. We go to developing countries and say, let's bring some money and let's show you how this is done. We go to partners like Korea and say, we are both ambitious, let's compare notes. And we do this. Denmark has, for 12 years, had a green energy partnership, a green growth alliance with Korea that incidentally the Secretary General was instrumental in getting about. But the good news is this: it is no longer a case of Danish exporters coming to Korea with a wind turbine on their shoulder saying, we are the world champions in wind energy, you should buy 10 of these. It is today a very close partnership. Denmark is investing in the renewable energies sector in Korea. Korea is investing in the renewable energy sector in Denmark. And more important than that, the business that we do together in the renewables energy sector with third countries is growing by leaps and bounds. So it's no longer a case of competition. We have proven the fact that it is in mutual economic interest to cooperate closely on renewable energies. So these are my key messages. Number one, we used to be imported, but we want to export our experience in this, good and bad, with friends like Korea. We have ambitious goals, and we want to be a partner for Korea in reaching the 14.3 gigawatt goal in 2030 for offshore wind. Thank you very much, and long live Danish-Korean friendship.
Okay, 감사합니다. Thank you for the ambassadors. Good, very fast and good presentations. 예, 2023년까지 온실가스를 70% 줄이고 2050년에는 100%를 줄인다라는 목표가 굉장히 인상적이었습니다. Next country is 모로코. 다음 국가는 모로코입니다. 오늘 대사님은 Dr. 샤픽 하사디 앰배서더, 모로코 국왕 특명 전권 대사이고요. 모로코에서 또 3선 국회의원을 역임하셨습니다. 국회 부의장을 역임하셨고요. 세계은행, 유럽연합 등 여러 국가에서 일을 하셨습니다. 주제는 모로코 왕국의 탄소 중립 전략입니다만 발표는 Political Council 정치참사관 미세스 살마리 산자께서 발표를 하겠습니다. Please, thank you.
Thank you. Even we don't have time, but I have to say this language, guys, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Mr. Chong, Chairman of the Net Zero 2050 Climate Foundation, to inviting me to contribute to this auspicious forum. Today, I want to highlight the themes of environment and climate change and their critical importance in my country, locally emphasized by His Majesty the King of Morocco. To help everyone better understand the carbon neutrality strategy adopted by my country, Morocco, I will hand over the floor to my collaborator, Salma, who will shed a light on three main questions related to this subject. The first one, as you can see, what strategy has Morocco employed to address carbon neutrality? And the second one, what steps has Morocco taken to reduce carbon emissions? And finally, what renewable energy project has Morocco successfully completed? You have the floor.
땡큐 앰배서더. 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
I will also be very brief and very concise. We don't have much time, so I'm very honored to share the floor today with very distinguished guests, and I will go straight to my presentation. So we've all talked about the context in which we are reunited today, which is marked by very growing environmental challenges and a very big climate crisis. The urgency of addressing these challenges culminated in the Paris Agreement, a pivotal moment to fight against the climate change, in which the international community pledged to taking ambitious measures and adopting a collective action. Morocco, a low GHG emitter country, but also vulnerable to the effects of environmental challenges, took early its responsibilities by gradually designing the outlines of its own vision that guides public action at sectoral, national, and local levels, with the intention to continue its efforts to combat climate change and with the goal of ensuring adaptation measures to reduce climate vulnerabilities and transition towards a low carbon and climate resilient development. So to fulfill this vision and accomplish these objectives, Morocco, under the leadership of King Mohammed VI, has implemented an articulated policy package consisting of a multitude of policies and strategies that were adopted through time, and which are engraved in and grounded in the national energy strategy that is adopted in 2009, which has been rolled out into roadmaps with short, medium, and long-term objectives, and accompanied also by a full legal framework and also incentives that are included in the investment charter for potential foreign investors. Morocco's commitment extends also to its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, of course. In 2021, we have presented our updated NDCs to the UNFCCC with a renewed level of ambition on both adaptation and mitigation dimensions, and increased emission reduction target to 45.5% by 2030, with an unconditional target, of course, set to 18.3%. Also, Morocco has been recognized as a leader and the front runner in this climate change resilience, and was ranked 4th among 58 assessed countries, just behind Sweden, Denmark, and the United Kingdom. So Morocco also has reached several milestones in the battle against climate change. One of the most significant ones, one of the most notable achievements, was the holding of the Conference of the Parties 22 in 2016 in Marrakesh, in Morocco, of course, which was the first COP following the adoption and the ratification of the Paris Agreement. During its presidency of the conference, Morocco has announced and institutionalized a series of initiatives, especially especially towards its home continent, which is Africa. So, for example, the AAA, which consists of the adaptation of agriculture in Africa, the SSS, which is the sustainability, security, and stability in Africa, and so on, many, many other initiatives. On the other hand, the kingdom, under the leadership of His Majesty, developed a strong climate solidarity with African brothers and African countries through the organization of the first African summit in action for the co-emergence of our continent. Other milestones at the national level are comprised of Morocco's pioneering efforts in renewable energy projects with 38% of production capability in 2022, and the ambition to achieve 52% of installed electricity capacity from renewables by 2030, including 20% from solar energy, 20% from wind power, and 12% from hydropower. So indeed, Morocco's pioneering efforts are evident in its renewable energy projects. So for instance, in solar energy projects, or the energy sector, we have the Noor solar complex, for instance, which is one of the largest solar parks in the world, that was developed in 2009 and it is spread over 4 stations, and which supplies electricity to nearly 2 million Moroccans and contributes to the reduction of nearly 1 million tons of greenhouse gases per year. Also, thanks to its geographic positioning and early exploration of wind power, Morocco has installed a number of wind projects along the Atlantic coast, with the latest being the Tarfaya wind farm, which is in the southern provinces of Morocco, which is the largest one in the country and in the continent, with its 131 turbines that offset nearly 900,000 tons of CO2 per year. For hydroelectric power plants that have been initiated and developed in Morocco since the early 60s, we have an example of the Bilwidan Dam, which serves also as a storage facility, but also contributes in the energy mix of Morocco. And also, currently, this year, Morocco is developing 18 dam projects all over Morocco from north to south. Additionally, important strides are being made in green hydrogen with the aim of consolidating the energy transition by contributing to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and supporting decarbonization nationally and, of course, with partner countries. An example of these partner countries, we have recently signed different MOUs and conventions with Germany, with Portugal, and also with the Netherlands, and other MOUs and conventions are underway and under review. So to conclude my presentation, I would like to say that Morocco, among African countries, has a journey toward carbon neutrality, which is very inspiring, and it is a tale to dedication to a sustainable future. Its vision, strategies, and achievements in renewable energy underscore the country's leadership in global resilience against climate change. And as we look to a future where carbon neutrality should not only be a dream, but should also be a reality, today's gathering in here, the Net Zero Forum, offers us a poignant reminder of what can be achieved through determination, vision, global collaboration to assure sustainable development and sustainable future, not only for the future generations, but also for our present generation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Political Counselor, Mrs. Salma Sanalis. It's very concise and fast presentation. Sorry about we have no time. 오케이, 이 모로코의 수도가 라바트라는 곳인데 그 52%의 전기를 리뉴어블 에너지, 재생에너지로 쓰고 이 재생에너지에 대한 투자를 급격하게 늘리고 있다고 합니다. 아프리카에서는 사우스 아프리카하고 이집트 다음으로 육상의 최대의 해상풍력 그 단지를 보유하고 있는 나라가 또 모로코입니다. 저는 아직 모로코를 안 가봤는데 한번 I would like to visit the Morocco. Yeah. Okay, next country is Norway입니다. 예, 노르웨이의 오늘 발표를 맡아주실 분은 앰배서더 안네 카리 한센 오빈 대사님이십니다. 외교부 중동 및 북아프리카 담당 수석 자문관을 하셨고요. 주 캐나다 노르웨이 대사, 외교부 북극미 극지 지원과 수석, 외교부 환경 및 지속가능 개발과 부국장, 외교부 핵안전과 세계안보과 자문관을 맡았습니다. Please, Ambassador.
안녕하세요, and thank you, Chairman Jung, for inviting me to share Norway's experience when it comes to pioneering green and sustainable energy. And of course, we are working very closely on decarbonization with South Korea, and I'm pleased to see many business partners from Korea that we are working with here represented today. I'm going to give you a very brief update on what we are doing on offshore wind, on hydrogen and ammonia, and also green shipping and carbon capture, storage and usage. So first, a few words about offshore wind. Well, Norway has ambitious goals when it comes to expanding the use of offshore wind, and Norway is in fact in the forefront of floating offshore wind capacity. We are, of course, standing on the shoulders of the country's unique oil and gas experience. That is what we are building on. And let me give a few examples of the Norwegian work within offshore wind. One example is that in March this year, tenders for 2 offshore wind parks in Norway opened. Another example is the Met Center, a world-leading marine energy test center for floating wind located in the North Sea. Furthermore, Norway is home to the world's largest offshore wind farm, Hywind Tampen, with a system capacity of 88 megawatts. I repeat, 88 megawatts. Lastly, on the subject of offshore wind, I would like to highlight the fact that the supply chains of South Korea and Norway are complementary, especially when it comes to floating offshore wind. Next, I will touch upon hydrogen and ammonia and give you a very short update by showing you a short film. And of course, all of our efforts is to achieve low emission society by 2050. And this means to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 90 to 95% by 2050. So it's a very ambitious goal. So in order to operationalize this goal, the Norwegian government has implemented several strategies, policies, and regulations to take part in this green transition. And of course, a unique part of Norway's work within hydrogen is that the Norwegian stakeholders are covering the full value chain. And Norwegian stakeholders are participating in global consortium projects. And behind me, you can see some of the Norwegian stakeholders working with hydrogen and ammonia. And several of these stakeholders are also operating internationally, including here in South Korea. Furthermore, Norway has 2 large-scale hydrogen projects of particular European importance, and these are Barents Blue in northern Norway, a project aiming to produce blue ammonia from natural gas with carbon capture and storage. Tizir on the west coast is another project which aims to use green hydrogen as a reduction agent of iron production. Another Norwegian project is Yara's work on green ammonia, a project to electrify and decarbonize the ammonia plant at Herøya, southeast of Norway, where I come from. And this is to enable large-scale green ammonia production. For those of you who are really experts in this field, let me just mention that 2 of the world market leaders of electrolyzers, Nel and Hydrogen Pro, have their headquarters in Norway. And additionally, I want to highlight the Deep Purple project, where the aim is to develop a greener hydrogen offshore energy system, a key component of our energy transition. So let's say a few words about green shipping, because this is so important also for our collaboration with South Korea. Well, we have very ambitious goals in Norway when it comes to decarbonizing the Norwegian shipping. One of them is to achieve a 50% emission reduction from domestic shipping and fisheries by 2030. And we have various incentives in place, several public incentive programs, grants, facilitating full-scale testing and scaling of innovation solutions. But another incentive that I'm very fond of, and that is the public procurement procedures, because that is combining strict requirements with long-term transparent contracts. And in the ferries industry, for example, we have achieved about 80 out of a total of 200 car ferries to become emission-free in Norway. And I think that is quite an achievement. Here are a few other examples. Hydra, which is the ship that you can see here, it's on my left top, is the first world's hydrogen-driven car ferry put in operation in 2022. And the ship Viking, the orange one here, retrofitted with a large ammonia fuel cell, will demonstrate that long-range zero-emission voyages with high power on larger ships is possible. Yet another example is the zero-emission vessels being used for offshore wind farms. So in the last part, I would just say a few words about carbon capture, usage and storage. We have applied carbon capture and storage on the Norwegian continental shelf for almost 30 years. And this has, of course, enabled us to embark upon innovative and new projects for carbon capture, storage, and usage. One such example is the Northern Light project, which will begin operation by 2024. And this project is part of the Norwegian full-scale CCS project called Longship, which aims to cover a full-scale carbon capture and storage value chain in Norway. And this is also part of the Norwegian government's ambition, of course, to develop a full-scale carbon capture and storage value chain in Norway by 2024. Lastly, Norway is also home to the Technology Center Mongstad, which is the world's largest open access test center for carbon capture and storage. And this center has the objective to test, verify and demonstrate different cost-efficient industrial-scale CO2 capture technologies. So in conclusion, Norway considers the green transition and the achievement of net zero to be an opening for new business opportunities, not only for Norway, but for Norway and collaboration with countries like South Korea. Offshore wind, hydrogen, ammonia, green shipping, and CCUS present exciting opportunities, we believe, for Norway as an energy nation and a technology nation. And really, this is our way towards the zero net future. So with these words, I thank you for listening. It was a very quick update on what we are doing. 감사합니다.
Yes, thank you, Ambassador. It's a very fast and beautiful, colorful presentation. We all impressed your presentation. Yeah. 우리 앰배서더 대사의 발표를 듣자 보니까 이 넷제로 서스테이너빌리티가 하나의 tourism, tour interest. Everybody wanted to go visit the Norway. Yeah, very fantastic presentations. 예, 지난 10년 동안 오프윈드 파워, 풍력이 10배나 증가됐고요. 거의 뭐 전력의 98%가 리뉴어블 에너지에서 나온다고 합니다. 정말 대단한 그런 어떤 내셔널 지오그래피를 잘 활용해서 아주 선도 리딩 컨트리라는 생각을 가졌습니다. 자, last presentation is the Germany. Sorry about the delaying the seminars. Ambassador 게오르크 슈미트. 예, 주제는 독일의 에너지 전환과 과제라는 제목입니다.
Thank you. 안녕하십니까. You heard a lot about technical solutions. You heard about wind, solar, hydrogen, etc., etc. I will spare you all these because as a technology-driven and crazy nation that Germany is, you can assume that all these things we're trying as well, and we're experimenting together with our neighbors, and we're learning a lot from each other, and there are big projects also that happen jointly, wind, offshore, etc. I would like to focus on another point today, and I would like to say a little bit about the social part of climate change, of energy transition. Why? Because social innovation and acceptance is, to me, is as important as new technology. When we started with our Energiewende in 1998, the idea was first, we take one part of energy, replace it by another, that's it, we fix it. It's not that difficult. That's not that easy. Because a different way of producing energy also is a different way of consumption, it's a different way of distribution, it's a whole different mindset. And we are not a dictatorship. We cannot stand there and say, let this be done, let that be done, like other countries. You have to take the citizens along. And I give you two examples how difficult that is. One is we have a heating bill that's been pronounced by the government saying, like, people who heat their homes, this is a very big source of modernization, a very big source of loss of carbon. And these are not enterprises. These are private people. And their home is their largest asset that they have. And now they suddenly are confronted with like a huge investment requirement. Now, if you're a company, you hire the expertise or you have it in-house. But what happens if you're sitting there and suddenly the government tells you, you have to upgrade and there are 5 different models and you don't understand what's happening around you. So it's an issue of trusting, it's an issue of communication, it's an issue of taking people along. And this heating debate, I can tell you, caused a heated debate in Germany. And it's a constant challenge in a democracy to take people along and to do that. I give you another example. Our wind comes from the north. Most of our industry is in the south. So the power has to come from north to south. And it's not easy. People don't like to have these power lines. So they say, what's happening? It's bad for the health, it's bad for this, it's bad for that, bad for that. So you have to, again, there's one thing to say, we pay you money, we compensate you for the damages. That works, but only partially. I think the approach that worked much better is to empower people in the true sense and also in the financial sense. Make them shareholder. Let a community feel like, there's a new wind power or there's a power line that goes over our territory and we make money out of it. Fishers have problems with wind parks. So one narrative would be, the windmill is taking away my fishing business. Not. The other narrative would be, I used to be a fisher, now I fish and I get income from this windmill that comes through my fishing territory. So it requires a lot of creativity. And I think this is a message also that goes for everybody who holds political responsibility, is to not be afraid of the voters, but bring them along. And you will see there's a big change. In Germany at the moment, people are even operating small solar power plants on their balconies. And you can see how happy they are because their mobile phone shows them, oh, today I generated this much amount of energy, I sold this, I sold that. So bring them along, don't be scared of them. The technical issues, leave it to the technicians, to the engineers. We heard a lot about it, we are achieving a lot in that, but don't be afraid of the citizens, bring them along, and you will see what can be done. And if Germany can do it, Korea can also do it. 할 수 있어요. Thank you very much.
Thank you, 게오르크 슈미트 앰배서더스. 이 독일은 목표 타겟 이열이 2045, 2045년에 넷제로를 실현한다고 그러고 있고요. 전체적으로 2030년까지 여러 가지 재생에너지 비율 타겟을 잡고 있는 것 같습니다. 자, 우리 대사님들 앞서가는 여러 가지 전략을 말씀해 주셨는데 저희가 궁금증도 많고 또 여러 가지 질문도 하고 싶지만 이 스케줄상 여기서 마치고요. 개별적으로 여러분들이 궁금한 사항은 대사관으로 연락을 주시면 우리 대사관에서 친절하게 답변을 할 거로 생각을 합니다. 다시 한번 we apologized for the delaying the seminar. Sorry about the again delaying seminars. I would like to wrap up to this seminar, these sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
네, 사회를 맡아주신 남성욱 원장님과 대사님들께 다시 한번 감사를 드립니다.